The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, will the United States, under the leadership of President Donald Trump, strike Iran and destroy its nuclear weapons development program once and for all, or will we not? I caution you that in the fog of war, there is enormous disinformation. At one point yesterday, President Trump tweeted and put up on Truth Social that those in Tehran should exit. Yet we see reports of him telling our allies at the G7 meeting that he told them that America would not strike Iran unless Iran struck American assets. Trump has been incredibly consistent. I went back and looked. He said during the campaign on the stump at least 15 times that there were no circumstances in which Iran would be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Why does he think this? I would say because Iran's leaders say death to America isn't a slogan, but a policy. Let's remember that just days ago, Iran called for the assassination of President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and all the members of their families, as well as all the cabinet members and members of Trump's cabinet. Iran also reportedly hacked into President Trump's campaign in 2024. The FBI told me that I was the target of one of those hacks. Let's remember, Hamas and their proxies attacked Israel on October 7th. If anyone thinks that Iran and the radical Islamists are going to stop with Israel, then you're fooling yourself. That's not what their religion tells them to do. The Bible tells us to stand with Israel or we will be cursed. We will be grafted into the tree through Jesus, the line of the tribe of Judah in Revelations 5:5, sharing the blessings and promises of God originally given to Israel. It is being America first to keep Israel from getting a nuclear weapon, in my opinion. I speak as someone who has traditionally been in the non-interventionist wing of the Republican Party. But those who say that the MAGA governing coalition will be wrecked if Donald Trump chooses to take out the nuclear capability of Iran, something that I'm not certain the Israelis have the technical capability to do, I think that would only be true if we were to go into a prolonged war like we faced in Afghanistan or like we faced in Iraq, where they told us this would be over quickly, but it was not only not over quickly, but our inherent national interests were never abundantly clear. That, to me, is not the situation here. We are being obedient to God by standing by Israel so that we are not cursed, and also getting rid of the threat of Iran targeting America and blowing us to smithereens. Now, whether or not the Iranians have a bomb tomorrow or whether they have it 2 years from now, their intention is clear. Unlike the Japanese and the Germans in World War II, unlike the Chinese and the Russians today, who are very definitely our enemies, the Iranians don't care whether they live or die. In fact, they believe they will be rewarded if they become martyrs in the act of killing us. We have never faced a foe like this. So just as Ezekiel 36 and 37 foretells Israel becoming a nation, as they did in 1948, the Bible tells of the battle of Gog and Magog. God decimates the whole coalition of nations that attempt to annihilate God's chosen people in that battle. So why has all this anti-Semitism been demonstrated in America on college campuses in protests? This is all biblical, and we should be worried more about the spiritual aspect of this than anything else. Instead of complaining that that Trump is on the side of Israel, we should be grateful, so grateful, that our country is in the good graces of Almighty God. So I guess what I'm saying is I trust President Trump. I trust his decision, but he is a man of his word. He gave the Iranians 60 days to come to the table and make a deal in which they would forswear their nuclear weapons program, and that they would use their nuclear capabilities only for the generation of electricity. and they stalled. They did not make a deal. Trump is right. They should have made a deal when they had the opportunity. So I guess I'm somewhere between Mark Levin, who I generally disagree with but have respect for, and Tucker Carlson, who seems to now become even anti-Israel as opposed to just being anti-war. I am not for a prolonged foreign war. I think one of the principal reasons Donald Trump got elected was because he was a peace candidate, but this is a more limited question. I don't believe Iran can be allowed to have a bomb because they would threaten the world with it. I don't have the latest intelligence. Only President Trump has that. It is accurate to say that Tulsi Gabbard, who I very much admire and support, as the director of national intelligence, reported some weeks ago that the Iranians were not close to a bomb. But if you actually read her testimony, she also testified that their intent was malignant, and that they had greater stores of enriched uranium than any other time in their past. I noticed only hours ago that she posted, or I should say CNN posted a statement by her in which she said that her view and the president's were now identical in terms of the danger posed. So we shall see. I will not believe anything until the president himself says it. There's a huge amount of speculation out there. Again, this is the fog of war. In the meantime, FBI Director Kash Patel on Monday turned over to Congress an intelligence report raising concerns that China had mass-produced fake United States driver's licenses to carry out a scheme to hijack the 2020 election with fake mail-in ballots. The newly declassified intelligence reports from August of 2020 weren't corroborated or even fully investigated at the time, and instead were recalled from intelligence agencies at about the time that then FBI Director Christopher Wray testified that there were no known plots of foreign interference ahead of the 2020 election in which Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump, at least allegedly. These new documents were turned over to Senate Judiciary Committee Chuck Grassley, a Republican of Iowa, who had first raised concerns to the Bureau that intelligence hadn't been fully vetted and instead had been just dismissed, even though there were evidence of this fake licenses scheme. Thanks to the oversight work and partnership of Chairman Grassley, the FBI continues to provide unprecedented transparency to the People's Bureau. Director Kash Patel of the FBI said, "To that end, we have located the documents that Chairman Grassley requested, which detail alarming allegations related to the 2020 elections. Specifically, these include plans from the Chinese Communist Party to manufacture fake driver's licenses and ship them to the United States for the purpose of facilitating a fraudulent mail-in ballot effort. In accordance with Chairman Grassley's request, he has declassified the material and turned it over to the chairman." So what we see here is that the FBI actually had information that pertained to the scheme, but they essentially swept it under the rug. And the FBI Director, Christopher Wray, testified under oath that there was no evidence of foreign interference in the 2020 election. Lying to Congress, a crime. We also know that Attorney General Bill Barr had information regarding the 2020 election from the Philadelphia area, given to him by the U.S. Attorney in Philadelphia, which he likewise swept under the rug, claiming there was no evidence of anomalies or inconsistencies or election fraud. Interestingly enough, the intelligence source who provided this to the FBI said the effort was specifically designed to help Biden. We now know that another agency, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, were the ones who intercepted these nearly 20,000 fake driver's licenses around the time that this first came to the attention of the FBI. Meanwhile, in another great victory for HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Kraft Heinz announced that they would eliminate all artificial dyes from their food products. Kraft Heinz is the largest food and beverage company in North America, says it will remove food, drug, and cosmetic colors from its products before the end of 2027. It also committed not to launch any new products with these FD&C colors effective immediately. The company claimed nearly 90% of its U.S. products are already free of these dangerous and toxic synthetic dyes when measured by sales. The company had already removed artificial colors from Kraft mac and cheese in 2016, as well as Heinz tomato ketchup, which has never had any official dyes. I was glad to hear that because those are two of my all-time favorites, Kraft mac and cheese, and there's really only one acceptable ketchup, that is Heinz. It's a personal preference. But Kraft Heinz said its plans in replacing these natural colors and reinventing new colors and shades where matching natural replacements are not available. In a statement, Kraft Heinz North America President Pedro Navio said the vast majority of our products use natural and no colors, and we've been on a journey to reduce our use of FD&C colors across the remainder of our products. I wonder if they would be doing so if they were not getting incredible pressure by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I really think that he is among the president's very best appointments and that he is fulfilling the mandate to make America healthy again. Back in April, Kennedy announced that the Food and Drug Administration was working with the entire food industry to eliminate synthetic dyes from the American food supply over the next 2 years. To a great degree, the industry has agreed to do so, but none of the industry's largest food companies, including Mars, General Mills, or Kraft Heinz and PepsiCo, confirmed in April that they had signed on the effort. Now, Kraft Heinz is the first of those companies to do so. This is indeed great news. If you're just tuning in, I'm Roger Stone, and this is the Stone Zone on the Red Apple Audio Networks. Here we give you the stone cold truth, and we tell it to you straight. We'll be back with more political news, and then veteran Boone Cutler, who has written a terrific book on 5D war with General Michael Flynn, but has also been very active in using alternative medicinal treatments to treat PTSD in veterans, joins us for a robust discussion of that. So whatever you do, don't touch that dial. You're in the Stone Zone, and that is the place to be.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Back in the Stone Zone, the other thing predictable about Donald Trump is he's completely and totally unpredictable. You saw the way he dominated the G7 meeting with virtually every foreign leader kissing his derriere. And then he rushed back for a War Council, or I should say a national security meeting to determine what the next steps are. Look, I am a non-interventionist Republican, but I support the president. I most certainly support Israel and their right to defend themselves. The real question is whether Israel has the military capability to take out the heavily fortified Fordow facility where their nuclear weapons program is being built. Perhaps it is only the U.S. with their bunker-busting 30,000-pound bombs that could take that facility out. Although yesterday on this show, Colonel Douglas Macgregor questioned whether that was even accurate. So we shall see. In the meantime, New York City comptroller and mayoral candidate Brad Lander was arrested by ICE agents Tuesday in a chaotic scene outside a federal immigration court. A video shows Lander, a Democrat, repeatedly demanding to see a judicial warrant for a man being hauled away by immigration agents, all the while kept his hands clutched on the detainee's shoulders. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens, Lander complained, refusing to let go of the illegal alien that was being arrested. Now, this is a stunt. Lander is running for mayor, but his campaign languishes. Perhaps he saw the spike in the polls that the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, briefly experienced when he broke the law outside of an ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey, although in the end, the mayor of Newark was not successful in New Jersey's Democrat primary. Or perhaps Lander saw the stunt pulled by Senator Alex Padilla, who, without any question, I watched the video 4 times, stormed the platform while Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was giving a briefing. Again, I think this is a campaign stunt, and it is against the law to interfere with ICE agents who are doing their duty. Lander's campaign must be in tough shape for him to try this, although, frankly, I do not think it will work. More recently, House Democrat LaMonica McIver was actually indicted on federal charges by the U.S. Justice Department last week when she assaulted agents outside a facility back in May. That was also in Newark. So this is campaign politics and not much more. Let me remind you that the ICE agents are fulfilling their legal responsibility, and the courts have declared that Donald Trump has the authority to arrest and deport dangerous criminal illegals. In fact, all criminal illegals, all illegals. You're in the Stone Zone. When we come back, Boone Cutler joins us. Boone Cutler is a veteran of the psychological operations war in Iraq, where he was responsible for Sadr City. He has a tremendous story to tell about his own overcoming addiction and his experience with alternative medical treatments that have worked for PTSD and the incredible work that he has done to help our veterans. You don't want to miss that. You're in the Stone Zone. We'll be right back with Boone Cutler. Whatever you do, please don't touch that dial. Stay in the zone.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Now in the Stone Zone is Boone Cutler. Boone Cutler and I actually met many years ago, long before Donald Trump ran for president, long before the America First movement, because we were both advocates for the legalization of medicinal marijuana. In my case, I became such an advocate because my father was dying of cancer. He was wasting away because he had no appetite, and he was in horrific pain. He was a veteran of the Korean War. And the pain reduction drugs they were giving him merely served to constipate him, but did not increase his quality of life. My sisters and I decided to get him a small amount of marijuana, then illegal, and it both restored his appetite and eased his pain. I don't regret it. Frankly, we have advanced since that time. It's one of the things we're going to talk to Boone Cutler about. But Boone Cutler served as a psychological operations team sergeant for the war in Iraq. His team was responsible for Sadr City. He has written multiple books. The most interesting, they're all interesting, but the one that has impressed me the most is the book that he wrote with General Michael Flynn, A Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Boone Cutler, welcome to the Stone Zone.
Roger, it's a pleasure, man, to be on air with you again and talking about the things that a lot of people just, I mean, even back in the day when we were talking about cannabis, there was a lot of pushback. And folks just, they really didn't understand because they had gotten so much bad information over the years. And that's changed. And that's really good. That's a solid impact indicator that shows like what you have and getting out good information. It does change things. And so I appreciate you having me on.
I'm delighted to have you on. First of all, tell us, you were a psychological operations team sergeant in the war in Iraq. You wrote a book that you started during the fog of battle. I guess you finished at Walter Reed, where you defeated a prescription drug addiction, and you healed. Now you're multi-dimensional, both as a music producer, as an author, as a spokesman. You had a terrific radio show, but you've really stood up for Americans' veterans, and this is what interests me the most. So explain concisely what a psychological operations team sergeant does.
Well, a psychological operations team sergeant runs a PSYOP team. It's called a TPT, a Tactical Psychological Operations Team. And your job is to basically integrate with a supported unit inside an area of operation and be the commander's voice on the battlefield. The other thing is you're going to work the shaping of that environment in non-kinetic ways, meaning changing the way the people are acting without having to kill them. So, and this is done in a myriad of ways, but I really enjoyed that job because you really are immersed in the people. Like in Sadr City, we were on the street every single day with the people of Sadr City, listening to them, paying attention to them, seeing what their motivations were, their vulnerabilities, susceptibilities were, and being able to shape that environment to make the environment safer for Americans, but also at the same time really pushing towards our U.S. national objectives without having to obliterate everybody. So it's a real long-term strategy. It's something that you can put on the ground pretty much anywhere and do some really fantastic work in a very humane way that shapes environments.
Yeah, I want to once again recommend the book that Boone Cutler co-wrote with General Michael Flynn, who was with us just a few days ago, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, which is designed to help society overcome the Marxist psychological conditioning strategies that attack the cognitive battle space in the nation today. Boone, what survival skills do Americans, do all people have to have in this era of fifth generation warfare?
Well, I would kind of boil it down to a couple things. The first thing, and I say this over and over again to people that I talk to, protect your mind, control your emotions. Because the only way you really can protect your mind is to control your emotions. We see these polarized messaging, the strategies all day long. People who are on social media all day long, they're getting hit with it constantly. And one of the ways you protect your mind, you control your emotions with a good amount of discernment is through tech hygiene and tech discipline, especially in today's online world. So tech hygiene is making sure you're looking at stuff that's good for you. Just like your physical hygiene, your physical health, you want to put good things into your body so you can get the optimal performance out of your body. Well, it's the same thing with your mind. With tech hygiene, we want to make sure that we're looking at the things that are positive. It's not always doom and gloom, the world's going to end and all this negative stuff. So that's the tech hygiene part of it. The tech discipline part is, how much time are you spending online looking at this? Are you ignoring your children? Are you ignoring your job? Are you ignoring your spouse because you're completely immersed in this digital world? Meanwhile, the trash is stacking up. The backyard needs to be picked up. Your kids are failing in school. They're not getting enough attention. They're not getting outside. They're doing the same thing you are online every day. Tech is like today's digital crack. And what I see parents giving their kids an iPad from the time they're about 3 years old, which is like giving your kid crack so you can do more crack. And this is the thing we got to step out of. So if I was going to give anybody, a crash course on what you can do for yourself right now, is step away from the tech, go spend time in nature with your family and people you love, and just be around them. It does amazing things for your mental health.
I could not agree more. One of the things, the phenomena that we see is people who begin to believe that the internet is the real world, people who believe specifically that social media is the real world and that everyone knows what you know because you spend so much time on social media. It is addictive, but it is not the real world. And therefore, what you say is absolutely true. I think that that leads to very dangerous habits. I'm particularly concerned about artificial intelligence. I've been a victim of artificial intelligence. You can see many videos online of me allegedly saying things that I never said. If you look pretty carefully, you can see that they're fraudulent, but it is very, very dangerous because at not much cost and with very little skill, we can make a video, say, of Joe Biden or Donald Trump, for that matter, saying things that they never said. How do you think we should fight the abuses of artificial intelligence?
Well, the first thing is, and General Flynn and I, in the Citizens Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, it's a 3-book series. The first book is Introduction to 5GW. The second one is How to Fight Artificial Intelligence. And the third one is The Role of the Church. In the second book of the series, we talk a lot about, what things people can do. And the first thing is make yourself smart. Make yourself smart on what the capabilities of these artificial intelligence systems and platforms can do. That way you can recognize what you're looking at when you're looking at it. And I'll tell people this, and I'll tell them over and over again, it's not the robots that you have to worry about. A lot of people think about robots when they think about AI. It's really about the AI-driven psychological programming. And the AI-driven psychological programming is typically foreign-born, being launched by Iran, Russia, China, into the United States. And it's really like artillery for the mind that is just blowing everything up constantly. And it gets people in these behavioral cycles. And that's the AI-driven psychological programming. It really kind of takes everybody at the most basic animal level and starts shaping the way people think from their origin points. This is the dangerous part, and most people have never, ever heard the term AI-driven psychological programming, so we wanted to really open up with that. And the reason we did is because after the first book, people were saying, okay, I get it, I'm programmed. I get it, I'm programmed. I'm on social media, I'm doing all these things, I'm susceptible to this messaging, I'm programmed. How do I become deprogrammed? And then we kind of had to go in and say, okay, what is the most updated ways people are being manipulated and programmed? And the journey led us to artificial intelligence. This is the most emergent threat in the United States and the world, and we really, really need to stop it.
One of the things that you have been most vocal and articulate about is the suicide epidemic among veterans. I, having had the FBI storm my home at 6 o'clock in the morning, I've had some experience with PTSD. My wife has had an even worse experience with it. I can tell you firsthand that the pharmaceutical drugs like Zoloft and Xanax all have side effects in the long term. They are not good for you. You have been an advocate for certain psychedelic therapies that you think have helped. Let's talk about that for a minute. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, quickly, just let me kind of underline what my story is and how I got to the decisions that I have. I was injured in Iraq. I spent 2 years at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. They put me on all the psych meds. They put me on all the pain meds. They put me on all the benzodiazepines. And I lived that life of addiction through those medications for a number of years until I stopped. And it was actually cannabis that got me off of a lot of that because then I could get good sleep. And that was just an amazing turning point. Things started to change for me there. So then I got off all the psych meds. I got off most of the opiates later when CBD became proliferated. That really helped me get off the rest of the opiates. But I was still having a lot of issues with PTSD and TBI, and there's overlap in the PTSD and TBI. Well, later on down the road, I was just to kind of underline the thing. So I can talk to everybody about the different types of therapies that are out there. I can talk to the different types of drug therapies that are out there. I can talk to people about the addictions because I've been through it, and I've been through it with several other veterans, getting them help. And then this thing came out. I was hearing it kind of like, especially like when you and I were talking about cannabis way back in the day, you could just hear these rumblings and see things change slowly. Well, I was starting to see those same rumblings around psychedelics, but I was not educated on it until a good friend of mine had gone, two good friends of mine had gone down to Mexico, and I knew the shape that they were in. So when they came back and they were touting how wonderful this had been for them, that kind of pushed me over the edge to figure it out because I trusted their reports. And so I got involved in it because I went down to Mexico and I did psychedelic therapy. And the one thing that I immediately noticed was that, one, addictions completely fade away. I had a horrible drinking habit. I mean, alcohol was something I just really could not put away, to the point that my wife would say, "Hey, you need to stop drinking." I said, "Sweetheart, you can ask anything from me. Okay, I'm a good husband. I'll always treat you right, but you can't ask me to stop drinking because it's never going to happen. It's never, ever going to happen." And we kind of had to deal with that thorn in our side as a couple for several years. And then I did the psychedelics, and I was actually in San Diego coming back home, and I was with a buddy, and who also went through the treatment, and I started laughing, and he says, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "I just walked past a bar in an airport. I haven't done that in 10 years." And it meant nothing to me. And so the alcohol, the behavior around alcohol, the addiction side of it was just gone. It's just completely gone. And the ability to think, cognitively with TBI, the psychedelics just does so many good things neurologically for people. And also the PTSD issues, the ability to maintain some semblance of self-control. People call me Zen Boone now, when they used to call me like Hulk Boone because I'd blow up all the time. So it's a different thing. So when I'm looking at, all these different modalities for veterans that I know that work, I can tell you cannabis works. I can tell you community works, having a good, strong community to lean on. I can tell you that stem cells work, and I can tell you that psychedelics work. Everything else, I can't tell you that works because I didn't experience that. But definitely psychedelics on the forefront right now. We got Texas just passed major legislation for ibogaine research. Arizona passed major legislation for ibogaine research. So that will come to America. But right now, most of it is done on the underground in the United States, or you have to go to Mexico. And they've got great treatment facilities in Mexico.
Yeah, ibogaine is a psychoactive alkaloid derived from the root bark of a specific African shrub, and it has shown enormous potential in treating depression and PTSD, particularly in cases resistant to conventional therapies. Evidently, it stems from its complex interaction with the brain, where it acts on multiple transmitter systems, including serotonin, dopamine, and NMDA receptors. I have not used it myself. I've read extensively about it. I'm also interested in the use of psilocybin mushrooms in microdoses, sometimes called micro mushrooms, and some have reported successful treatment of PTSD with that. These, I think, are both promising, still illegal in most states, although mushrooms are becoming increasingly legal across the United States. I agree with you about CBD and that medicinal use of the hemp derivative. It would be difficult to sleep without it, in all honesty. It's quite legal in the state of Florida. So I do think you're an early advocate for these all-natural substances, which can help those with PTSD. This requires a lot more discussion. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to Boone Cutler, author, warfighter, a veteran, and a good friend of this program, and we'll be right back with more. Stand by.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're talking to Boone Cutler. You can find out more about Boone and his books and works by going to BooneCutler.com. That's BooneCutler.com. I'm really privileged to have him on the show today. Boone, I want to talk about stem cells and how that can help people with serious injuries. It has helped my wife tremendously, who had an injury in her knee. I'm not sure that all Americans are familiar with stem cell therapy and how it works and why it works, but lay it on us.
Well, this is my story. About 6 years ago, my heart gave out, and I was dying from cardiomyopathy, heart failure, polycythemia, stage 3 kidney disease. It all hit me at once, and I was in that death spiral. I had 6 months to live. And I was blessed enough to find a way through a wonderful lady who helped sponsor my treatment, and also Warfighter Hemp. My good friends at Warfighter Hemp also helped sponsor my treatment to go down to Panama and get stem cell therapy for my heart. And I went down there in a wheelchair. That's how bad off I was. And after 2 of 4 treatments, I was able to walk. I was able to go down an elevator, walk across a lobby, buy my wife some coffee, bring it back up to the room, and I was just better. And so that was stem cell therapy, and I would definitely be dead without it. Later, a few years ago, I went down to Tijuana to the Cellular Performance Institute and got stem cells again. And it was, again, just a very, very healthy thing that just works. And no babies were harmed during the process of the stem cell therapy. These are stem cells that are derived from an umbilical cord that's already used. It's going to be thrown in the trash. Nobody's going to benefit from it, which I think is a travesty. We have births all around this world every single day, and many times we just take that umbilical cord and throw it away when it can be harvested for the stem cells and save people's lives.
So there you have it. Boone Cutler, who's a veteran, who served his country with distinction, now dedicates his life to helping other warfighters, other veterans. Check out his 3 books with General Flynn, all regarding the 5th generation warfare America is facing today, particularly at this time when we may be facing yet another foreign war. I trust President Trump to make the right decision. It has to be a very lonely and difficult time for him as he makes life and death decisions around his nation. But I thank God that it is he, not Joe Biden or, God forbid, Kamala Harris, making those decisions.
Thanks for listening to The Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear The Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?